Hi everyone, this is Matthew McKenzie again. Got another treat for you. I'm still continuing on with the carer activist series, and we've got here Nadia Taylor, who does a huge amount of work for carers in her area and beyond. But enough of me sort of talking about Nadia. I'm going to let her do that for herself. What we're going to start with, really, as the whole point behind these series is to let carers and those who work with carers know about the amazing work some carers do out in the field to reach other carers. So they're not just caring, they're going beyond that. They're going to out there to make a difference to those who are struggling, um, being known about their role. Being an unpaid carer is challenging and difficult. So Nadia, I want you to tell us a bit about yourself. Why should other carers sort of know about the work you do?
Hello, Matthew, and thank you so much for this very kind introduction. I'm Nadia Taylor, as you said. I am the chair of Carers Network, which is a small charity supporting unpaid carers in three London boroughs, Hammersmith and Fulham, which is where I live, Kensington and Chelsea, and Westminster. We have been around for over 30 years. I have been involved for over 10, and I've now recently been elected for a third term as Carers Network's chair. So that will be 13 years of very active service. But of course, I'm wearing a different hat as well, or another hat today as a carer myself, a long-term carer. So I have a vested interest in not just in the organisation, but a vested interest in amplifying the carer's voice, because I'm one myself and have been for such a considerable length of time that the impact on my life has been quite significant. Obviously I started my caring role as a young carer. My parents are severely disabled. One is blind, one is profoundly deaf and going through sort of a cancer battle with myeloproliferative disorder at the moment, among other things. I also have a child with a very serious health condition, connective tissue disorder, as well as a family member with autism, which adds another very interesting dimension to actually understanding challenges of being a carer and being there for carers too, because understanding it so little out there. Really, there is very little. I mean, amongst the caring community, you have it there, but the authorities that be, the support networks are very much lacking, and this is where I come in. So obviously, I have cared for over 25 years, but that's just kind of the formal caring, if you like, because I've been a carer since my childhood, but you don't
Mm.
really identify yourself as a carer. You realize quite what your role is when you appreciate the impact that it's had on your work life, on your ambitions, on your professional development, on your career aspirations, of course, as much as on your own well-being,
Yeah.
which, well-being, I think, gets forgotten in all of the tasks that as carers we have to do. So I'm hoping that because I bring that personal insight into caring, being one myself, I like to think that I can put my energy, my professional skill, my abilities into actually amplifying the voice of all carers and making a difference in the same way as you do.
Excellent. That's a brilliant, brilliant introduction about yourself, and it's like you do an awful lot, especially having the ability to not only just care for your loved ones, as being a young carer as well. Starting off a young care is really tricky, but to continue to do a bit of outreach. So we're going to go into the next question in regards to what support do you provide for carers?
As a network, we have a statutory requirement. We're commissioned, as I said, by three London boroughs to provide carers assessments. So that is one aspect of our work. Um, those carers who know what carers assessments are, obviously, it's a statutory requirement that the Carers Act enable us to have, which sadly is only, in my view, a gateway to having slightly more in-depth support and perhaps a little bit of financial assistance. And I really do mean a little bit. We have, and I know that up and down the country, not every local authority honours that or is able to provide that, but certainly in the three boroughs that we work in, we have something called personal budget. So as a result of a carers assessment, which is a very much an in-depth interview with a support worker, it takes just about an hour, where a care plan is worked out for the carer, not for the cared for, because up until the Carers Act, all the emphasis was on the cared for. So we were very much left behind. We were left on the fringes of society, struggling at home in isolation. So what the carers assessment does is really focuses on the carer and what support needs we have. So a plan is worked out. And as I said, it's also a gateway to additional support. So what Carers Network will do is we'll signpost where we can't provide that support ourselves. But the crucial bit is there is a little bit for those who are obviously eligible. There is an eligibility criteria for those who are eligible. You can apply for personal budget to use towards a break, a brief break, or a household appliance, or some sort of something that impacts on your or improves your social life. And the interesting thing is that once you have gone through the carers assessment, you then have access to other services. So we also provide information, support, and guidance. And that could be advice on benefit entitlement, debt, cost of living, with cost of living advice, various other things, housing, you name it. So we have a drop-in opportunities in each of the boroughs we work in, and those opportunities mean that carers can turn up without having to have an appointment and to chat to a competent advisor who will then, if unable to solve their problems, will then signpost them. In addition to that, we have a whole range of opportunities for well-being. We have online fitness classes, yoga, Zumba, various other sort of physical, focused on physical fitness and physical well-being activities. We have built relationships with entertainment providers such as theatres. I mean, we're very fortunate being in London. You have access to amazing venues who we actively campaign and nag to give us free tickets, which we then distribute to carers to give them that little bit of respite. I mean, I know what isolation means. I'm 48, but believe you me, I understand, and actually very sad very often when I hear that things like isolation and loneliness are attributed to elderly people, but in fact, as much younger carer myself, I feel that acutely on a daily basis. So by being able to give carers an opportunity to go out there and experience something, just a little respite for a couple of hours to see a show or a performance of some kind, or just meet with friends or see a movie, whatever it might be. So we actively work with entertainment providers just to give us that little bit of respite.
Mm. You say you're the chair of Kia's network. I mean, what does that role mean to yourself? What difference do you think it makes to carers out there?
Well, I have been, having been with Carers Network for a decade now, I have seen two other chairs prior to me, and I like to think that I made myself very different to theirs, purely
Yeah.
because unlike them, I am actually a carer. We have a very strong board, which I lead, but what the role really entails is what do you make of it? And I see myself very much as somebody who has a responsibility to amplify the voice of unpaid carers. I take offense, I'll be honest, at the term of being the unsung hero, because we do need a song, we need the recognition. It is very hard to realize that as an able-bodied individual, despite having personal health issues myself, I have energy, I have commitment, passion, and skill to be able to make a difference to carers. And finding that platform is not easy because it's a fight, it's a constant fight. Public discourse is not always in our favor. I have to say, there is so much going on, and I very much hope that the pandemic will provide that much needed platform where unpaid carers can actually really come to the fore. But in fact, sadly, in my view, the focus was very much on the NHS, on what is seen as key workers, the NHS staff, paid carers in care homes. when I'm very much of the view that for those we care for, there isn't a greater key worker than ourselves. I mean, my personal role is 24/7. I never clock off. There's no respite. My parents live with me. My children live with me. My family's with me. So there's never a break. And despite all of that, I really do feel that as chair, I want to be able to, when my tenure comes to an end, I still, for as long as my family are around, I still remain a carer. And I would like to leave a legacy that will impact other carers. I hopefully change national policy so that we have a greater financial recognition, that we have access, irrespective of whether we are entitled to benefits or not, we have access to free prescriptions and actually basic healthcare, the transport subsidy. I mean, my carers allowance, which is the only thing I receive, goes to TfL, which for those who aren't in London is the transport network,
Yeah.
because hospital transport is terribly unreliable. My mother has has missed out on an operation, a very serious operation, because transport didn't collect her on time. So it's those practical changes that I like to think my role as chair can contribute towards improving. Because although Carers Network isn't a campaigning organisation, I'm very much a campaigner and activist, and I have been for all the time that I've been involved as a trustee. I've spoken at the House of Lords, I've spoken to MPs. Little has changed, the fight continues, and so I need all your support. And together we are stronger, as I always keep saying. It's a very cliche phrase, but it's very true. We have
Yes, of
to
course.
unite efforts because we do need the help. We are left lounging in isolation at home, languishing, really not lounging, languishing. And it's terribly, terribly sad. You know, I'm relatively young, but I also, I'm fully aware of my own situation. One day I might need care because we have an aging population. The
That's
need
right.
for
Yeah.
caring is increasing, and I have no pension. Yes, I think my carer's allowance does contribute somewhat towards my national insurance contribution, but actually how many younger carers like yourself and myself are in this situation? If you're working, great, but those of us who are not able to find that additional time to actually work, I mean, I've had to give up my career to look after my parents because of
Mm.
the caring needs that they have, which are around the clock, and the system let me down. We did have carers which were I had some assistance with local authority recommended carers from agencies. Terrible, terrible experience. I mean, that's a whole new conversation. But when you see that you are the only person capable of helping effectively and efficiently, my parents wouldn't be here if it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
But it has come at a huge cost. I mean, my career aspirations and all that I worked for, and I did once have a career and, worked terribly at it, all had to be put on the back burner because family comes first,
Mm.
and the assistance is just non-existent, so they need me. Every local authority has adult social care departments, but really, you have to fight to actually get access to any help. So it's tough. It's incredibly tough.
Mm. Yeah. Well put. Obviously, with these interviews, it's so important that each care activist that I have on this series certainly raises those challenges that carers face, and each interview will hopefully bring that to the center of attention. Going away from Carers Network and to yourself, I'm sure not only myself really, but many others watching this interview are interested in what future projects you look to work on aimed at carers. So not within the realms of Carers Network, but for yourself, what sort of things do you think you'll be looking towards that can raise that awareness or make a difference?
I mean, carer, Matthew, is all I am, but within that lies so much more. Who I am as an individual, what my personal professional skills are, what I can do for carers. And so raising awareness, keep fighting to actually change national policy. This is what I would like to achieve as an individual. As I mentioned earlier, long after my tenure as chair of Carers Network comes to an end, I will remain a carer for as long as I have my child, for as long as I have my parents, for as long as I, have all the family members that need my support. But it doesn't just stop there, because I see myself as part of a much larger network with responsibility, with a collective responsibility, and we are stronger together. So What I would like to do is to continue to speak and highlight the plight of unpaid carers, because there is a huge difference. And I think when people hear the word of carers, they imagine care workers, workers in care homes. We need help. We are not unpaid. Sorry, we are not unemployed. We are unpaid. So
Yeah.
ultimately, what I would like to do, and that's a very crucial difference, we are not unemployed. We shouldn't be part of the social security system. I really would like to see an extension of the provision for the minimum living wage. And that is what I will dedicate every effort, every bit of energy I have to making a reality, because we need the recognition. We contribute. Our economic contribution is quantifiable. It's not invisible. There are millions of us, and the number is growing. And this nation, its economy needs us, because we save every adult social care department in every local authority millions, collectively becomes billions. And
Yeah.
the recognition of us, of our energy, of our the detriment to our own health is not recognized, and we need that assistance. I mentioned earlier, we are key workers. How am I good to anybody or to anything, including to myself, if I'm unwell? And I can very easily become unwell because there's no support for me, really. I can't fulfill my own prescriptions. How much can you stretch a carer's allowance? And that is all I have as an individual who is a university graduate, who had a career, who worked towards, contributing to society and making a difference. Today, it's very sadly when I realized that my role as a carer was actually seen as just a carer. I began to also appreciate how terribly uh, sort of blindly society saw me. They saw me as someone, a stay-at-home parent, and it isn't like that. You're not a stay-at-home person. You're actually on duty 24 hours a day. Now, you find an NHS worker who will be happy to have a 24-hour shift. No one does it. No one does it, and no one would do it without pay. So what I would like to do is to really work towards, united with other carers and other activists, to change national policy. We need recognition. We shouldn't be part of the benefit system. Yes, we all come from all walks of life, and we have, some of us are entitled to benefits, some of us society deems us unentitled or ineligible to benefits. I have one family worker, of one family member in employment. That person is self-employed with a serious health condition himself. He's supporting a household of 6 people. Can you imagine what that means? Can you imagine what it means to my children and the things that they're deprived of because we simply can't afford it because of carrying responsibilities? No family in this country, no person in this country should be left in that much isolation, in that much despair, because they have carrying responsibilities where they've stepped in, yes, to look after a loved one, but ultimately to assist the state in alleviating the responsibility that the state has to look after those who need the assistance. So I would like to see us recognized on a national level, not just as unpaid carers, but actually somebody who is respected by society, whose economic contribution is recognized and appreciated, because we're not asking for much. I'm simply asking for the means to exist, for the
Mm.
means to be able to go and see a dentist, which I haven't seen for over 5 years. You don't think I need one, and you don't think that when you have dental problems, it doesn't impact other aspects of your health. Of course, it does. There's research there that I'm not medically trained, so I can't perhaps substantiate it. But I've heard so much about dental problems, severe dental problems linked with heart failure. I have a heart condition. I don't get, who cares that I can't fulfill my prescriptions? I mentioned to my doctor, oh, talk to the lady at reception about the HCP certificate. Well, you have to come up with a lump sum of money, which I don't have, to be able to pay for that certificate of, well, it's not a full exemption, because if you're not entitled to full benefits, you're not exempt. But we do so much for society, not just for the folks at home, and nobody gives a damn. And I want to change that perception, Matthew. I'm sorry if a lot of anger comes through, but comes from desperation, comes from that isolation and loneliness that I feel at home, the lone voice that I sometimes feel. But I'm not alone. Up and down the country, many people are struggling just as much as I am, and they need care themselves to be able to care. They need assistance, and If I can do anything to change their lives and leave that legacy, that is what I would dedicate every bit of energy I have in making a reality.
Brilliant. A last final question here, and this is aimed at again unpaid carers. Obviously, watching the video, whether they're doing stuff at work or they're not at work and they're caring for a loved one. What advice would you want to offer them in your experience as chair, your experience as a cares activist, your caring role? What advice would you offer unpaid carers out there?
Remember yourself. Keep fighting, but remember that those you look after need you. So you have to remember your own well-being. And I know how hard that is. Believe you me, it's taken me years to realize that actually I have to look after myself. I have to find every little minute that I can to have a break. I used to linger, and people will laugh at this, but I used to linger longer in the bathroom just because that was the only space I could just pause and take a breath. So remember yourselves, look after yourselves, and keep fighting. And remember, you are not alone. It feels very much that you are on your own.
Mm,
You're in despair because you are stuck at home with the loved ones. I mean, I'm very much housebound as my parents are. I have to leave the house. I have to have a relief carer. And sometimes unfortunate organizations that are happy to hear from me would cover the expense of that, but not always. So remember that you matter. Remember that your function is there to support others, that you are needed, but to be there, you also have to find a way to support yourself. Keep fighting, keep looking for ways to find that support for both yourself, of course, as well as the people you look after. But remember, we are stronger together. So don't allow yourself to feel that you're alone. Look for networks. There will be networks locally. Google things. Look for any ways that you can support yourself. If you can, make sure you sleep. Sleep deprivation is a huge problem for me, and I know how that impacts on what you are as an individual and how capable you are when the day breaks, because you never really go to bed. I mean, my nights are broken by intervals of 2 or 3 hours where I have to provide medication and things like that. So you have to realize that those who need you can't function without you. But to be able to do that, you have to get the help that you need, and you have to look for that help wherever it's available. Never give up. Never accept that you're on your own, because you are not. There are people suffering just as much as you up and down the country, and there are networks who unite those people.
mm,
And together we are stronger. So look for that support. Keep fighting, and fighting it really is with your local authority, because we have things that we're entitled to. There are budgets that exist that are given to local authorities for carers. And it shouldn't be a case of us having to fight to get access to that. It should be, we should have, you do feel so disenfranchised as a carer, but we do have rights. They're not quite as enshrined in law as I would like to see them. That's another thing I would like to contribute with my energy and with my skills towards making a reality. But we do have rights. And yes, it's a fight to see those rights respected and honored by society. But remember, you're not alone. Look after yourself and look for the support. Um, it's there. It's not always easy to find. Navigating the system as well is very, very difficult. But we have to insist on our own time to see doctors, to see support workers, because we need it on behalf of those who need us.
brilliant. That's great advice. A lot for carers to digest. But I'd like to thank Nadia for agreeing to appear on this set of care activist interviews. As you can hear from or see from the video, she does an amazing amount of work, and I will have this blog. I'll blog this out and just let those who are watching, just let other carers know, can learn a lot from what care activists do. So they're not just carers; they do so much out in the field, and I said it's great advice. By the definition of what Nadia does at the local Cares charity, hence the name Cares Network. I do feel there's a lot of power where carers can come together. It's not just trying to be the single voice. I think together carers are stronger. Anyway, Thanks for watching this interview. There'll be another care activist later on. I'm not sure when I'm going to do that, probably next week. But keep watching, and I promise I'll bring you great presenters here talking about the work that they do. So we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thank you very much, Matthew. And I think it's important to mention that together as carers, we can actually shift power. We don't just empower ourselves, we empower others, but we can also change and shift that power that exists to make life better, because it's only fair. It's only the right thing to do. So thank you for giving me a platform, and thank you for hearing, and thank you for your support as well, because I know what you do as a carer. So thank you.
And you'll be interviewing me next, so we'll soon see that. And take care, everyone. Bye.